The council chamber of the Zorath Empire was lit with a cold blue glow. Tall, insect-like figures sat in their stone seats, their thin arms crossed in arrogance. At the center of the hall stood Admiral Kale, his body trembling as his black eyes scanned the room. His voice was sharp but filled with unease. "Do not provoke the humans," he said. His words echoed in the silent chamber. "They are not like other species we have conquered. They fight in ways we do not understand. They do not surrender. They do not abandon their own. If you force war upon them, they will come for you until their last breath." For a moment, the council was silent. Then laughter spread through the chamber. "Humans," sneered one elder. "That fragile race of soft skin and short lives. They are nothing but a mistake of evolution." Another elder slammed a claw against the table. "We have destroyed empires far stronger. What could Earth possibly do against the might of the Zorath?" Kale's mandibles clicked nervously. He remembered the stories, the battles his scouts had seen, the strange power humans carried. He raised his voice again. "You do not understand. Humans are different. I saw them stand against impossible odds. Entire fleets burned, but their soldiers still charged forward. Colonies reduced to ash, yet survivors still fought with bare hands. I warn you, if you strike at them, they will unite as one. They will fight for each other, for strangers, for allies, for worlds that are not even theirs. Do not provoke them." The council erupted with mocking voices. They called him a coward. They said his fear made him weak. One counselor leaned forward, her voice dripping with venom. "You speak of humans as if they are gods. They are animals. If they resist, we will crush them. If they run, we will hunt them. If they beg, we will silence them. The Zorath Empire bows to no one." Admiral Kale's chest rose and fell. He knew his words would not change their decision. The Empire was hungry for war, hungry for expansion, and humans in their eyes were prey. Outside the chamber, far beyond the Empire's world, human colonies thrived on the edge of space. Families built cities on Mars, miners carved tunnels on Europa, and fleets patrolled the black void between stars. The humans lived as they always did, with struggle, with courage, with unity. They did not know yet that eyes full of greed were watching them. The first orders were given. Warships would gather near the asteroid belt. Scouts would move silently, testing Earth's defenses. The Empire believed this would be quick, easy, and glorious. But Admiral Keel could not shake the memory of what he had seen. He remembered one small battle far away when a group of Zorath raiders attacked a human freighter. The freighter had no weapons, only workers and families. Yet the humans did not run. They rammed their own ship into the raiders, sacrificing themselves to stop the attack. Kale had watched in horror as the burning wreck drifted into silence, but also with awe. The humans had chosen death over surrender. And somehow that frightened him more than any weapon. He tried one last time. He spoke as the chamber doors closed. "You do not know what you are awakening. Humanity's strength is not their weapons, not their ships, not their numbers. It is their will, and that will cannot be broken." But his warning was drowned in laughter and pride. The decision was made. The fleet would move against Earth. Far across the void, on the blue planet humans called home, life continued without knowledge of the storm approaching. Children played under city lights. Pilots trained in simulators, families shared meals, and scientists looked up at the stars with wonder. They did not yet know that an empire was preparing to test the one truth that defined them, that humanity never surrenders. In the silent cold of space, engines roared. Zorath warships slid from their docks, their black hulls gleaming like knives. Hundreds of ships armed with weapons powerful enough to break moons gathered in formation. The invasion fleet was on its way. Admiral Kale stood at the command deck of his own ship, his heart heavy. He had warned them, but pride had blinded them all. As the stars stretched before him, he whispered words no one else could hear. "Do not provoke them. You do not know what they will do." The darkness of space swallowed his voice, and the golden glow of Earth, still far away, waited for the war that was coming. The black sea of space near Mars shimmered with silence. Then it broke. The first Zorath warships emerged from the void, their hulls glowing with the dim red light of their engines. The fleet stretched like a swarm of shadows, moving with precision and cold hunger. Earth's colonies spotted them first. Mining outposts on Phobos and Deimos sounded alarms, their signals echoing across every channel. Civilian ships scrambled for safety, but there was little time. The Zorath had arrived. On the command deck of Earth's orbital defense station, Commander Elias stood tall, his jaw locked. His officers reported frantic updates. Enemy ships, dozens of them, approaching fast. The humans had expected this one day, but not so soon. Their defenses were smaller, fewer, not yet ready for a full invasion. Yet no one spoke of surrender. "Signal every ship," Elias said firmly. "No retreat. We hold the line." The first clash came like thunder. Zorath warships unleashed beams of searing plasma that tore through mining rigs and defense satellites. Explosions painted the silence of space with fire. Humans fought back, but their smaller ships were outmatched, their weapons weaker. One Zorath captain sneered as he watched a human vessel break apart under his guns. "Fragile creatures," he hissed.
They shatter like glass, but then something strange happened.
Instead of fleeing, the humans pressed closer. A patrol ship, already damaged, turned its burning hull directly toward a Zorath cruiser. Engines flared one last time. The ship rammed the cruiser head-on. The explosion lit the darkness like a dying star. Both ships were lost, but the message was clear. The humans would not run. Admiral Keel, aboard his own ship, watched the reports with dread. He had warned them. Now, as he saw human pilots sacrificing themselves to slow the advance, he felt the weight of his words turning real. The humans did not fight like other races. They did not scatter when outnumbered. They did not beg for mercy. They fought as if every breath mattered. On Mars, colonists armed themselves with whatever they could find. Old ships, mining lasers, even cargo haulers were turned into weapons. Families were evacuated, but workers stayed behind to defend their homes. From orbit, Zorath commanders saw resistance they had not expected. Ordinary humans standing against warships. The Zorath laughed at first, but their laughter died when small human fleets began striking back with precision. Groups of tiny fighters slipped between the massive alien ships, targeting weak points, detonating fuel lines, cutting supply vessels apart. For every human ship destroyed, another rose from Earth or its colonies to join the fight. It was not order or strategy that drove them. It was loyalty, unity, and the refusal to surrender. One young human pilot, her ship heavily damaged, received orders to retreat. Instead, she locked her course toward the largest enemy carrier. Her final message came through the comms before her ship vanished in flame. For Earth. The blast crippled the Zorath carrier, sending shockwaves of panic through their fleet. In the council chambers far away, the elders of the Zorath received updates. Their arrogance cracked. How are they resisting with so little? One elder whispered, but Admiral Keel knew the answer. He spoke softly, almost to himself. "This is humanity. This is what I warned you about." The battle raged for hours. The humans could not match the Zorath's size or power, but they matched them in something far greater: spirit. Ship after ship, crew after crew, humans chose to stand, to fight, even when death was certain. By the time the Zorath fleet withdrew from Mars orbit, the battlefield was littered with wreckage. Human losses were heavy. Entire squadrons were gone, colonies scarred. But the Zorath had not claimed victory. They had been slowed, bloodied, forced to retreat for the first time in generations. Commander Elias stood on the bridge of his battered station, smoke curling from broken panels. His voice was hoarse but steady. "Send this message across the stars," he ordered. "Humanity stands. We will not surrender. We will protect our people until the last breath." The message spread not only to Earth but far beyond. Other alien races watching silently from the shadows heard it too. Some felt fear, some felt hope, and some began to whisper, perhaps the humans were not prey. Perhaps they were something more. Admiral Kale closed his eyes as his ship drifted in silence after the battle. He knew this was only the beginning. The Zorath had made their choice. They had provoked humanity, and now the war he had feared was awake. Somewhere beyond the stars, Earth glowed, still alive, still unbroken. And humanity, scarred but unyielding, prepared for the battles yet to come. The wreckage from the Mars battle drifted silently. Broken ships turning slowly in the endless dark. Fires burned where oxygen still leaked, painting streaks of orange against the black of space. The Zorath had pulled back, but Earth knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. Across the colonies, humanity buried its dead. Names were spoken in whispers, faces remembered in silence. Families lit candles inside domes on Mars, while miners carved names into the stone walls of Europa's tunnels. They mourned, yes, but they did not despair. Their grief became fuel, their loss became fire. Commander Elias addressed the survivors. His voice was broadcast to every station, every ship, every colony. His uniform was torn, his face lined with exhaustion, but his words carried the weight of iron. We have been attacked. Our homes burned, our families taken from us. But humanity does not bend. Humanity does not surrender. We fight for each other, and we fight until the last breath. This is our oath. To our children, to our ancestors, to ourselves, we will never abandon those who stand beside us. The message spread, carried on signals that traveled far beyond Earth's borders, and those who heard it knew it was not empty speech. Already, across every world where humans had settled, ordinary men and women prepared for the battles ahead. A young engineer on Europa worked without rest, patching together broken ships with parts pulled from abandoned mines. He told his crew, "If they come here, they will face us, not just machines. They will face people who will not yield." On a small colony near Titan, farmers who had never held weapons took up rifles, training under the harsh glow of Saturn's rings. One of them, an old man with trembling hands, said quietly, "I cannot fight well, but I can fight long enough for someone else to live." Even children whispered the words. In shelters on Mars, a boy carved into the metal wall with a sharp stone, "Never surrender." His mother tried to stop him, but when she saw the fire in his eyes, she let him finish. The Zorath spies hidden among the colonies sent back reports. They were confused. By all logic, humans should have broken. Their fleets were smaller, their weapons weaker, their bodies fragile. And yet, everywhere they looked, they saw resolve. The humans mourned their dead not with weakness, but with defiance. Back on the flagship of the Zorath fleet, Admiral Keel stood in silence as the reports were read aloud. Other commanders mocked the humans still. They called them reckless, foolish, suicidal. But Keel's mandibles clicked with unease. He had seen this before in smaller battles and smaller wars, and he knew what it meant. "It is not foolishness," he said softly.
"It is loyalty."
Humanity does not fight for power or conquest. They fight for each other. That is why they cannot be broken. But his words, as always, were ignored. On Earth, preparations grew. Massive shipyards lit the skies above the planet. Factories working without pause. But it was not just the weapons that made humanity dangerous, it was the oath they had sworn. An oath carried not by generals or politicians, but by every single person who bore the name human. Stories began to spread like fire through the colonies. Tales of sacrifice from the first clash, the patrol ship that rammed a cruiser, the pilot who gave her last breath to cripple a carrier. Each story was retold, reshaped, becoming legend. These stories became shields stronger than steel, weapons sharper than plasma. One alien race watching from afar sent a secret message to its people. The humans are not prey. They are something else. Do not stand against them. If you must choose, stand with them. The Zorath, blind in their pride, continued to prepare for a full assault. But within humanity, a quiet storm grew. Their oath was not written in books or carved into stone. It was carved into their hearts. In the ruins of a shattered station near Mars, a group of survivors gathered in the cold. They had lost everything, homes, families, friends. Yet as they huddled together, one soldier spoke the words that bound them all. "We are human. We do not surrender. We do not abandon. If we die standing. If we live for each other." The survivors repeated it, voices rising in the empty dark. And those words carried in recordings, in whispers, in signals that moved faster than light. Everywhere the words spread, people repeated them until they became truth. This was humanity's oath, and it was stronger than any weapon. The Zorath did not understand yet, but soon they would. The Zorath returned with fire. Their fleet swelled, their weapons sharper, their pride burning hotter than ever. After the first clash at Mars, they had tasted resistance, but now they came with the intent to crush it forever. Black warships blotted out the stars, their engines thundering through the void. The invasion had begun in full. On Earth, alarms rang across continents. Defense stations rose into orbit, fleets scrambled, and soldiers readied for battle. Yet amid the fear, there was no retreat. Humanity had sworn its oath, and every man, woman, and child carried it in their hearts. The battle began near Jupiter. The Zorath came like a storm, tearing apart human fleets with brutal precision. Entire squadrons were burned away, stations shattered, colonies broken. To any outsider, it looked like humanity was losing. But then something shifted. A single damaged cruiser, its engines failing, refused to fall back. Its crew fought on, holding a narrow passage open for refugee ships to escape. When their weapons failed, they turned their engines toward the enemy. The explosion tore a hole through the Zorath formation, giving thousands of civilians time to flee. The sacrifice was recorded and broadcast across the system. Every human who saw it felt the same fire. Their ships may break, but their will did not. Zorath commanders grew unsettled. "They throw away their lives," one captain hissed. "There is no logic in this." Admiral Kale, watching from the shadows of his flagship, knew better. "It is not logic," he whispered.
"It is loyalty."
"And it is stronger than any weapon." The turning point came slowly, like a tide. Human fleets that should have scattered instead regrouped. Pilots who lost their ships volunteered for new ones. Engineers worked without sleep, building weapons from scrap, turning wreckage into shields. Even the wounded returned to the fight, refusing to stay behind. On Titan, civilians formed militias, standing shoulder to shoulder with soldiers. When the Zorath attacked, they found farmers, miners, and children's parents holding the line with old rifles and stolen cannons. They should have broken easily, but they did not. They fought with the same fury as trained soldiers, and the Zorath lost ground. Alien spies hidden among the colonies sent back terrified reports. They had seen empires fall in days. Civilizations beg for mercy, armies scatter in panic. But the humans were not collapsing. They were rising, and something even stranger began to happen. Other alien races, long oppressed by the Zorath, watched in silence. For centuries they had feared the Empire, bowing their heads and hiding their strength. But now they saw humans bleeding and burning and still fighting. They saw humans defending not only themselves but alien refugees caught in the fire. They saw loyalty that stretched beyond their own kind. Whispers spread. "If the humans will not surrender, maybe we should not either." The Zorath elders dismissed it all as weakness. "They are dying," they sneered. "They cannot last." But the truth was harder to see. Each human death did not weaken their people. It strengthened their resolve. Each sacrifice became a legend, each act of courage a fire that spread to others. In one battle near Europa, a small squadron of human ships faced overwhelming odds. Instead of retreating, they transmitted a single message to every channel, a vow spoken with one voice: "We stand." Until the last breath. Their ships were destroyed, but the message echoed across the system. It reached colonies, stations, even alien worlds, and those who heard it did not forget. The Zorath began to notice something they had never seen before. Fear, not in their enemies, but in themselves. Their soldiers hesitated. Their commanders argued. Their once perfect formations broke under the weight of human defiance. For the first time in generations, the Zorath realized they were not facing a weaker species. They were facing something they had no weapon against. Admiral Kale watched the change unfold. His own officers grew restless, confused. "Why do they not fall?" they asked. "Why do they not break?" Kale's mandibles clicked as he gave the answer. "Because they cannot. Humanity's strength is not in their ships or weapons. It is in their oath. And that oath is unbreakable." As the war dragged on, the tide shifted. The Zorath still had power, still had numbers. But humanity had something greater: unity. Across every colony, across every battlefield, they fought as one. And in that unity, the Zorath began to falter. The turning point had come, though the Empire did not yet see it. The humans, fragile in body but unyielding in will, were becoming something unstoppable. And somewhere in the silence of space, as wreckage floated and fire burned, the words of their oath carried like a drumbeat. "We do not surrender. We do not abandon. We fight until the last breath." The Zorath had provoked humanity, and now for the first time they began to understand the price. The war had burned for months. The stars near Earth were littered with wreckage, human ships broken apart, Zorath warships drifting in silence, colonies scarred by fire. Both sides had paid heavily, but still the battles raged. The Zorath believed they could break humanity if they struck hard enough. They gathered their greatest fleet, more than 1,000 warships, and launched them toward Earth itself. It was not conquest anymore. It was extermination. On the night the fleet appeared on the edge of the solar system, Earth fell silent. Every city, every colony, every ship knew what was coming. And still, no one spoke of surrender. In orbit, Commander Elias stood on the bridge of Earth's last great defense fleet. His ships were smaller, fewer, damaged, Many of the crews were volunteers, farmers, miners, engineers who had never seen war before this one. Yet all of them stood ready. He gave no long speech. He only said, "This is our home. This is our people. We fight and we do not stop until the last breath." The Zorath fleet descended like a wall of fire. Their weapons lit the void, beams of light tearing through human formations. Whole squadrons vanished in seconds, space filled with burning debris. And still the humans advanced. Small fighters dove straight into the heart of the enemy, weaving through massive cruisers, striking at weak points. Damaged ships stayed in the fight, using their last shots before detonating their reactors and suicide charges. Civilians flying converted freighters joined the battle, their untrained hands steady as they fought alongside soldiers. To the Zorath, it was madness. To the humans, it was loyalty. Admiral Kale watched the slaughter from his flagship. His heart ached with the truth he had tried to tell his people. "They will not stop," he whispered. "Even if you kill them all, their memory will rise again. You cannot defeat them." On the surface of Earth, cities prepared for the worst. Families built shelters, hospitals filled with volunteers, and even children whispered the oath in the dark. "We do not surrender. We do not abandon." The great battle raged for hours. Human losses were beyond counting, but slowly and possibly the Zorath fleet began to fracture. Their perfect formations broke as fear spread. Captains who had mocked humanity now hesitated. Soldiers who had once laughed now shook with doubt. Then came the moment that changed everything. A single human dreadnought, its hull torn open and burning, charged directly at the Zorath flagship. It should have fallen long before, but its engines roared with defiance. Across every channel, its captain's voice carried, "For Earth, for humanity." Until the last breath, the dreadnought collided with the flagship. The explosion was so bright it outshone the sun for an instant. When the fire cleared, the Zorath command ship was gone. Their fleet, leaderless, broke apart. Some fled, some surrendered, some simply froze, unable to face the humans any longer. The battlefield was silent. The cost was staggering, but humanity still stood. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light. Alien races that had once bowed to the Zorath rose up, inspired by what they had seen. They whispered of the humans, the fragile species that had fought the greatest empire and survived. They spoke of their oath, of their will, of their refusal to ever surrender. The Zorath Council, broken and shaken, finally admitted the truth. One elder said bitterly, "We tried to crush them, but instead we awakened them. We thought them weak, but they are stronger than us all." Admiral Keel left the chamber in silence. He had known from the beginning. He had warned them. And now the galaxy knew too. On Earth, the survivors stood among the ruins. They wept for the dead. They buried their fallen, but they did not bow their heads. Commander Elias looked at his people and said quietly, "We stood. We kept our oath. And the galaxy will remember." And the galaxy did remember. For centuries to come, the story of the battle was told in every corner of space, not just by humans, but by countless others who had seen the light of their defiance. They called it the legacy of humanity, the promise that no matter how dark the night, humans would rise and fight, not for power, not for conquest, but for each other. The Zorath never attacked Earth again. In their halls, where once they had laughed at warnings, they now spoke in whispers. A single phrase passed among them, a truth they had learned in fire and blood. Do not provoke humanity, because they will protect each other until their last breath. The stars turned on. Worlds continued and humanity lived on, scarred but unbroken, weaker in body perhaps, but in spirit, stronger than empires. And in the silence of space where the wreckage of war drifted like forgotten ghosts, the words of their oath still seemed to echo. We do not surrender. We do not abandon. We fight until the last breath.